Okay, go-getters, welcome to this video on something called the Thesaurus. This is a very useful tool. Hopefully you have yours with you and you will start using it, or you'll ask your parents to get one so that you can make your writing more interesting. So first of all, what is a thesaurus? Well, a lot of people see the ending of the word saurus and they think of a dinosaur, because saurus actually means lizard, believe it or not. But thesaurus has nothing to do with lizards or dinosaurs, even though it sounds like Tyrannosaurus and Apatosaurus and all of those other sorty. Nope, a thesaurus is this: a treasure. Now you might be thinking, treasure? Whoa, I need to get a thesaurus. I'm not talking about this kind of treasure. If you open it up, you're not going to find gold. A thesaurus is a writer's treasure. That's why we gave it that name. Thesaurus is a Greek word that means treasure, because all writers know how valuable these books are. So what does a thesaurus do? It helps you when you need to use different words that have the same meaning. We call these synonyms. That's another Greek word. Syn means same or together, and nym means meaning or sense. So synonyms are words that mean the same thing, or almost the same thing, like baby and infant. Those are basically the same thing, or they're pretty close. Okay? Now, one of the things writers do, good writers do, is they try to avoid repeating words. So let me show you an example where a writer used words too often. She went to her teacher's room to say goodbye. Saying goodbye was never easy for her. So she took a deep breath, opened the door, and quickly said, "Goodbye, Mrs. Jones." Now, actually, this is well written, but there's a problem. Look how many times the words goodbye were used. 3 times in a very short writing. That's not really very good writing. So what we need to do is find another way of saying all of this without changing the meaning. And this is where the thesaurus can help us. We can open up and look up the word goodbye. And we'll see that we get lots of options. I have a few listed here. So long, farewell. They even give us some common ways of saying goodbye in other languages, like arrivederci, which is Italian, and adios, which is Spanish. So now what we can do is we can go back and take out some of these yellow words that we see here and mix it up a little bit and make our writing more interesting. So now we get this. She went to her teacher's room to say goodbye. Saying farewell was never easy for her. So she took a deep breath, opened the door, and quickly said, "So long, Mrs. Jones." And there you go. All that we did was take out 2 of the goodbyes and replace them with 2 other words that we found in our thesaurus. Now, we have to be careful when we use a thesaurus because sometimes a word can be different things. Be sure you're looking for the right synonym. Now, think back to your dictionary lessons. If you still have your dictionary, look up the word get or take or run. There are so many definitions for those words. And the same thing can happen with a thesaurus. So let's say you were going to look up the word break. Well, look it up and you'll see something like this. You'll see a number 1 and then the letters VB. VB stands for verb. And it says here, crack, shatter, smash, fracture, split, snap, crash, splinter, burst, rupture, crush, squash, chip. All of these are actions like I cracked the window, or I shattered the plate, or I smashed the glass, or I fractured my hand, or I split the wood, or I snapped the branch. All of these are actions. And then when you look carefully at that entry, you'll see an arrow, and then you'll see this: destroy, explode, separate. This is very important. It's called a cross-reference. And what that means is you can look up these words, destroy, explode, and separate, elsewhere in the thesaurus and get even more words. So let's say you looked up break and you didn't like any of these yellow words. They weren't exactly what you were looking for. The thesaurus is telling you to cross-reference these words. Look up destroy, explode, and separate, and you might find something new. But now let's imagine you didn't want the verb break. You wanted a noun. So here we go. Here's number 2. And there's an N that's telling us it's a noun. And we see fracture, split, crack, rift, breach, gap, opening, chip, schism. Now you might be thinking, well, wait a minute. Why do they have fracture as a verb and a noun? Why do they have crack as a verb and a noun? That's because some words can be both. We can say there's a crack in the window, that's a noun. Or we can say he almost cracked the window, that's a verb. Now some of these words like schism you might not know, and you'll need to look those up in your dictionary. But now let's imagine this isn't really what I wanted. Well, in your thesaurus, there's a number 3 and another noun. And look at this one. It says pause, recess, intermission, breather. Ooh, look at this pink word. Now you might be looking at that and saying, oh, that says respite. But actually, no. That word is respite. So here's an important thing to remember. A thesaurus will not give you the pronunciation. The dictionary does that. So we have respite, delay, interlude, interruption, lull, hiatus, suspension, disruption. Oh, and we get an arrow and some more words that we can cross-reference. Okay, now if you look in this thesaurus, if you're using this orange one, you'll see that there's a number 4, a number 5, and number 6 because the word break is very, very useful. Okay, so you have to check, just like I've got these circles here, check the part of speech. Are you looking at an adjective, at a noun, at a verb, and so on? And try and check as many words as you can, cross-reference often, and hopefully you'll find just the right synonym. Now the word break has lots of synonyms. There are lots of entries for it in a thesaurus, but sometimes a word only has one synonym. If you cannot find it, check the bottom of the page. So let's say you look in the A section and you don't see arrive. Check down at the bottom. And if you look up arrive, you'll find that it can also be come. Okay, and then you can go ahead and cross-reference come. Look that up and you'll find plenty of other words. Let's say you're trying to find out about the word briny. Well, you're not going to find it in the main part of the thesaurus, but if you look at the bottom of the page, you'll look it up and find that it means salty. Now, sometimes it's very difficult to find a synonym. Sometimes there just isn't a really good one. And remember, many times the words are not exactly the same, but they're pretty close. So, a dictionary gives you the definition and the pronunciation of a word. It'll also give you the syllable count It'll also tell you which syllable is stronger, which one should be accented. A thesaurus gives you synonyms. Both have guide words and they tell you what part of speech your word is. And all writers should have these. So on your desk, it's a great idea to have a dictionary and a thesaurus. You'll be able to use them in high school and college, and even when you get to be older. Like me, I use them all the time. The end. Although, you know what? Now that I think about it, maybe I could say the conclusion, or the termination, or the finish, or the closing, or the ending. You get the idea, right? See you later.